This is the Superconscious Sisterhood and Friends podcast. We are a group of female coaches working with women from all over the world. We work with our clients to help them create a life they love, become the predominant creator in their own reality, step into their true nature and purpose, and live in health and vitality. In this podcast, I talk all things superconscious with the other coaches, and sometimes I'll have guests too. Welcome to today's session. I'm here again with the amazing Debbie, and we're going to kind of like get into a few things around, we're thinking around authenticity today, and what that means for us, and being vulnerable and bringing all of the parts that you have into what it is that you do. How do we all start to do that? And yes, before we started, Debbie was saying some really interesting things around kind of a new way of being a woman in business and into entrepreneurship. And it was really interesting. So do you want to talk a little bit more on what that means for you?
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. It's been a while. Nice to jump on this epic conversation again. Yeah, it's been so alive for me lately. The authenticity factor. I feel like, in a world where nowadays it seems like fake is kind of becoming the new standard. It's
Yeah,
I feel like people are craving authenticity more and more. Because nowadays, even with the AI, and I'm not saying AI is a bad thing, I use it myself. And if you use it right, if you use it, in alignment with your values, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But it's so easy to put fake stuff out there, right? And
yeah,
I think,
mm,
especially also in our niche as coaches, it's happening a lot. And I think people are getting more and more in tune with, their radar, so to say. And so they're not just blankly gonna trust anybody anymore. And I mean, that's one part of it. But the other part of it is if we want to create like the life that we absolutely love, it has to
mm,
be in alignment with who we are, right? In our heart, at our core, not who we think we need to be, but who we truly are. And so I feel like the authenticity is what keeps you in alignment with that. It's what keeps you there. And even
yeah,
though, we have all these voices come up saying, I um it's so important to have that truth with you always.
yeah,
And we were talking a little bit before the session about the wholeness, right? Is showing up in your wholeness no matter what you're doing. Like I used to look at other people in business when I didn't have my own business yet and feel like, oh, I have to do it like that. They're showing up in these really flawless clothes and suits or whatever, or they look all of a sudden really different from, how they normally do, or they talk differently. And you kind of get a sense of like, I have to do it in a specific way, and I just don't feel like that's true at all. I think the most powerful thing is to show up in your own wholeness, is to bring all parts of you to the table, no matter what you are doing, whether you're in a business conversation or with your family at the dinner table, or like why wouldn't we just be ourselves all the
yeah,
time,
yeah. I totally
right?
agree.
So we have all
Yeah,
the energy with us.
yeah, because we've always curated ourselves to take on different roles to do different things. And I think, in society, there's definitely a certain amount of that is still required for certain scenarios, because you go to school, you go to doctors, you go to somewhere else, and you know that there's a set of, rules, unwritten rules that you have to follow to be in that particular scenario. But I feel like, yeah, there's quite a lot of people will do the fake it till you make it thing, which, I agree with to a certain extent, but at the same time, I feel like you can see straight through it and it becomes very inauthentic and a little bit, it can possibly be off-putting, especially where we're going through this like age of Aquarius where there's more about truth, love, honesty. Honesty and truth are the same thing, but it's more about being open, and also people are able to see through those kind of facades a lot easier, aren't they, than they were. So your target audience, and in our case, our target audience are women similar to us, they are not going to be necessarily, interested in the older ways of advertising and, them hamming it up and very sort of masculine driven kind of sales pitches. They're going to be more interested in, this is us, this is who we are at the core, and this is what we're interested in. And it's interesting as well, because if you think about when you look at the media, and the news and stuff, which I don't subscribe to the news as much as I did, say, maybe 5 years ago. But when you look at the stories that are coming up around celebrities getting outed for certain behaviors, it's almost like there's just a great sort of revealing of all of the things that need to be addressed within society, where there's been some unsavory behavior that is harmful to other people. You see that being talked about and highlighted a lot more, don't you? So it feels like there's a big change coming for a lot of people. Maybe there'll be less
Yeah, I think
corruption in politics and so forth.
I think
Yeah,
there
it's
is a big
interesting.
shift, and I feel like, it's the great opportunity for any woman to now just choose this year, okay, let's step into that full alignment with who I truly am. No matter what I'm doing, let's just embrace that power, that authenticity, that uniqueness of what each woman brings to the table. Like, and not hiding any parts of yourself, not being scared anymore of, oh, is this part of me going to be condemned or laughed at or ridiculed or whatever it may be. And yes, I know that a lot of us, if not all of the women to a different degree, carry the witch wound, right? Which is part, I think, of kind of hiding, having the tendency to hide parts of ourselves. But I know that the
Yeah.
energy that this year carries is really potent in bringing all of your power out, right, and bringing it to the surface, and to be seen, and being
Mm.
safe in that, being safe in feeling seen. And like what we did at the beginning of the session when we were talking about, okay, what are we going to talk about today, because we actually didn't decide, right?
Yeah.
Just like, we're going to jump on and we're going to do this podcast, and we didn't really have a topic. And then I mentioned what was alive for me lately, and it kind of boiled down to authenticity. And then you drew a tarot card and
I
said, like,
did.
well, let's see what tarot is saying. Show the card. What did you
Yeah, so I dabble a little bit in tarot cards. I'm not, by all means, I'm not a official reader, but I do enjoy looking at them and stuff. And I got the Knight of Swords, which is kind of all about truth and authenticity, and not being afraid to speak your truth. And I just thought that was really about being a little bit more assertive, which sometimes as women we're not always assertive in a feminine way. We might, if when we are assertive, it'll be more in a masculine kind of way of being, which is not a bad thing. But really, I feel like we need to we need to combine our intuition with the actions that we take rather than just acting, like this is the way, I am the law, do exactly as I say, sort of way of being. And the detail said, blah, 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 dissect confusion and dishonesty, driven by a passion for truth and justice. He isn't afraid to vocalize his beliefs or act swiftly on his convictions with a mind that thrives on inventiveness, blah, 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 just about kind of coming up with solutions, adopting a bold or unconventional stance, urges you to remain true to yourself even when faced with opposition. And that really summed up the whole, it's why people aren't necessarily authentic in the first place, is because they're scared, the witch wound, that they're going to be ostracized or not belong to their family, or etc. And yeah, I really do think that it stops people connecting more with the field, with the source, with whatever with some people call it God. But it stops, I think it stops people connecting and accepting that connection as much, and openly talking about it as well. Even though they see things happening within their lives that actually are so synchronistic and fall into the stuff that they're learning, they're talking about. But still, if you were to talk to your family about it, like I know me, if I was to talk to my family about it openly, they'd be like, oh, yeah, whatever. And then they would always discount certain things. Oh, you're just reading too much into it, blah, 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 So yeah, it's just it's getting away from that witch wound, that fear of being seen, that fear of truly embracing all parts of you, and that includes this, intuition and connection that we have with everything, that can easily be achieved, particularly now because there's such a great energy shifting that's happening within society. So yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? And we're just normal, ordinary women. We haven't been necessarily involved in. I mean, I've always been a little bit interested in tarot and crystals and things most of my life. But I went and worked for the railway for 13 years and completely discounted anything that might be deemed as supernatural or a bit woo woo, because that's the way that I was taught to fit into society. And now I'm thinking, well, actually, there's so much more to meditation, to Reiki, to healing, to energy healing, maintaining a fully formed aura and stuff, all of the things that we cannot see, that are not necessarily easily described or quantified by science. Let's say that. I can see where there's truth in those things. And it takes a lot of work still for me to try and use my discernment to understand which of these things are coming through to me are true, and which of these things are my ego just telling me something. So and I can see that can be very confusing for anyone, right? You're like, oh, well, I was in an amazing meditation, and then I saw this vision of this awesome dragon, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how much of that do you allow yourself to believe in and take on? But then the younger part of me, the inner child, is like, fuck it, you've always believed in these things. Just do it. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the energy, enjoy
Yeah,
the
well,
connection with everything, Anyway,
that's
sorry.
the thing. I think as women, we have such a powerful innate connection to everything around us, and specifically to this earth, right? And to all the energies. So if we allow ourselves to trust that, no matter what shows up for us, it's meant for us to be seen. It's meant for
Yeah.
us to carry that energy forth. And I feel like, I grew up as a very sensitive girl, very intuitive, but very sensitive. And so to kind of fit into the world, I became really analytical. So I also have that
Same.
paired with a super analytical mind. And so
Yeah.
I just kind of, you know, fit myself into this world, into how other people would understand me, how I could better fit in. And that analytical mind kind of started living a life on its own. And every time I would have like this, what you would call maybe a supernatural experience, right? Magical experience, I would start to analyze it. And I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
second, we don't have to do that.
No,
The
no, you
things
don't
that we see,
actually.
the things that we experience are all there for a reason. We don't even necessarily have to know the reason, we just have to trust. And I think that
Yeah.
that's the most important thing is, I started drawing my visions at some point. So I have like drawings in my journal of like certain visions. And what I do is I just connect to those. I look back at those whenever I feel like, I now just intuitively feel that I should connect to that energy. And I just see everything as energy. And when I connect to it, I don't know, like something shifts, for example, in my energetic field, and my day goes differently, or things start to happen. And I don't necessarily need to know anymore why. I don't need to analyze it. I just need to trust it. And I just follow that instinct that I have. Like, oh yeah, okay. All of a sudden that past dream popped up into my awareness again, where I was swimming with orcas. And I'm like, just like, I don't need to know exactly, is it real? Is it not real? I think everything we experience is real. That's what I believe. I believe that, reality is not limited to this 3D. We dream for a reason. We have visions for a reason. We have this
Yeah.
incredible imagination for a reason. We can tap into the quantum field where everything exists.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Yeah, we can tap into the quantum field where everything exists, and we can connect. One of the things I do for my other work that I do is I'm learning how to, connect into Akashic records for people. And everything is, and this work as well, I think it does involve a lot of, getting into your intuition, seeing what comes through for you, allowing yourself to clear as much of your ego out of you as possible, becoming this innocence to allow things to come through that are not as affected, isn't it, by other things. And if you're in that state of, if you're in that place where you're in the flow doing something or something else and a message comes through, is normally a good, it's a message, isn't it? It's a good message. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a
Sorry,
message, and we don't even have to unravel it with our logical mind. Like if you think about it, our 3 levels of consciousness, we try to approach everything with our logical mind. But we have an unconscious and we have a superconscious. And both of
Yeah.
those levels of consciousness they communicate through images, through metaphors, through all of that. It's not up to our self-conscious mind to unravel that. Like sometimes we feel really good when we can find meaning in it, right? And we can like with our logical mind kind of put that narrative
Yeah.
on it. Oh, this is probably what it means. Like, but we don't have to. All we have to do is stay open, listen, really listen, because it's just other parts of ourselves communicating with us. The parts that we've had laid dormant for way too long, and it's all real. It's just that not everything has to be deciphered through the self-conscious mind. And I think that's where are paralyzed, if we want to really embody the authenticity of who we are in our heart, is like we have to let those parts speak. And we have to just
Yeah.
let them in and be with it and not push it away or whatever. And if we can bring those gifts, because I really believe that that's also what's communicating our gifts to us. Before I jump on a live session with women, I ask myself, okay, what is needed today? What can flow through me today as a vessel that's going to be helpful to all the beautiful women on the call. And
Mm.
I almost always, either before or during the session, get flashes of imagery or metaphors, and I'm like, I don't have to decipher them at that moment either, but it's coming through. And I'm just going to trust that what I feel like I need to say about it is going to land. Right. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's all that needs to happen, and the rest will unfold how it will unfold. And that's the path that we need to trust. But I think lots of us have been suppressing those gifts because we think we don't understand them ourselves.
Yeah.
We think we need
Yeah.
to fully understand all of that to be able to show it to others, right? To be able to
Yeah, I have.
have that on display and use it in coaching or whatever. And that is just still, that conditioning of like, okay, everything has to be reasoned from the self-conscious.
Yeah, I agree.
When I get imagery or really strong, symbols or metaphors, something that is not like direct language that my self-conscious mind doesn't understand fully or not at all. I think a lot of us suppress that. We don't want to put it on display. We don't want to use it in our coaching or whatever it is that you do or that you feel drawn to do that involves other people, because we feel like we don't fully understand it ourselves. But that's not
Yeah.
necessary. You know, it's not all about the self-conscious. Our superconscious and our unconscious are two levels of consciousness we have that belong to the whole. So if we want to show up in our authenticity, in our whole, then those things that come to us, I believe, are meant for us to carry forth into the world. And you will be able to feel, if you stay open and in trust, you will be able to feel what is only meant for you and what is
Mm.
meant to carry out in the world. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do know what you mean. Because I had more recently when I was going through my awakening process, meditation, more things coming through to me, I would start to get more visuals and audio messages, if you like, ringing as bells and that sort of thing. But when I was younger, I always used to get and I did used to get that a little bit when I was younger, thinking about it. But that was when I was very young, before I started to become more serious and studying and stuff. Um, but yeah, when I was younger, I'd always get this thing I like to call the knowing, where you just know something is absolutely, you just like, it's a certain feeling that just pops in, that's like it'll be a message or a
mm,
thought about something, and you just feel like there's such, it's just like, you don't know how you know, but you just know that that is what is. Do you know what I mean? And there's like a feeling of
it's giving me
clarity
goosebumps. I
and
don't know if you get,
sort of
yeah,
calmness that comes through. It's just it doesn't happen like loads, but
yes.
every now and then it'll be like, say this, or this is what's going to happen, or like, it'd be a little bit precognitive as well as a knowing. But yeah, sometimes it'll just come through. um yeah, it's just coming from a family that, and I'm sure a lot of families are the same, that just like laughs about that sort of thing, that connection with other dimensions, the connection with stuff. um I've been doing a lot of internal battling on getting myself ready to feel confident enough to talk about it. rather than come
Mhm.
across like a, as my family might say, oh, you're just a loony, and you just what why do you think that? Nobody can connect with people. When you die, you die, and I don't believe that. When you die, you die. I've never believed that, and I've always believed in reincarnation, and I've seen some of my past lives, um, and yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is it just makes it challenging, doesn't it, to have someone to talk to about it? But because
Does.
yeah, not
And this is
everybody
the
has to
thing, you
believe
can't
the same thing. That's
family.
true. What?
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like you can't pick your family in the sense of your blood family, right? And you might have picked them before you were even born for a specific reason, maybe a lesson to learn or whatever. But the thing is, um, and that can be the hard part. The thing is to walk your own path in life. I really truly believe that, no matter what. And there are always going to be people that are aligned with you. Always.
Yeah,
Like there are
that's
how
true.
many billion people on this planet, right? You don't have to agree or speak to everyone. It's about finding those people who you're on the same page with, because that's who you're
Yeah,
going to speak to. And I truly believe that we can only get there and we can only put that value in the world for ourselves and for others if we learn how to fully listen to those parts of
yeah,
us. Because for me,
yeah,
there's truth in that. And for
yeah,
somebody else, it can be all delulu, but
yeah. Just
for you, it's truth.
yeah,
Truth has an essence. And when you said, like, sometimes you have a knowing, I just saw this super interesting video that was talking about, they've done research on this now, is that in those moments, and I just had it when you said that about the knowing, because I feel like so many women are still ignoring that, because I've walked in those shoes where I had that knowing, and then I shared it, and it was just like, you know, if somebody tells you like, no, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true, you're going to start doubting yourself. But in the end,
yeah.
in hindsight, it it was true. And so I kind of learned how to just really trust myself on that. And for some, that's really hard. But the video I saw was about that, when you're aligned with truth so much that you get like goosebumps. You know how you
Yeah,
get that feeling,
I get
I have
that.
it, that this like
Yeah.
energy runs up my spine and I just get goosebumps. And sometimes it's when you're talking to a friend, for example, and they say something and you get like instant goosebumps, right?
Oh, like you did
And it's
then, like you said. You said,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
And it's
So
like
good.
this alignment with truth. But now it's even been um, proven through research how powerful that is. And apparently, the goosebumps that kind of align you, put you in that moment of like clarity, of like truth, of like wisdom, of knowing, it has a higher vibration than the people they've measured that were stepping into feelings of like love and joy and gratitude.
Oh, I
And
love that.
the vibration went just like off the chart when they measured it. Those moments,
And
those specific moments
yeah, that's
of
so
goosebumps where
interesting.
you just feel like it's,
You just know, don't you?
yeah,
And do you know what it feels like as well? It's like frozen moment as well, a little bit, if you think about it. It's like a frozen moment where there's no real emotions of, as such, but there is a feeling of certainty, but there's no, it's almost like that's just what it is. It's like not, there's nothing loaded. Do you know what I mean? It's not loaded emotionally in one way or another, like
yeah,
when
I
you're
know exactly what you
desperately
mean.
trying to think
No,
of
it's
something
not
or
like
manifest something.
excitement or
It's just like a frozen moment is the best way I can describe it, where it doesn't feel like anything, but it feels like calm and peace, but not.
it's really calm.
That makes sense.
Let me tell you a story that
Oh,
I would
I just
love to
I
hear
don't
from
even know
our
if I'm
audience
making
if you want to
sense.
comment on
Sorry,
this.
Debbie. Oh, yes,
I would love to hear from
you
anyone
continue. Sorry, I'm
watching
just
if they
chuckling
have.
away at myself the way I was trying to describe that, how I might feel sometimes. So tell me your story.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I would love for anybody watching to put like their experiences in the comments if they've had those kinds of experiences, because then we can really connect and see that you're not the only one having this, and you're not crazy,
Yeah.
and it's not something like weird, or it's actually when you can tap into that and trust into that. I truly believe it's going to happen more and more. But it was many years ago. I was at this like big festival here in Costa Rica, actually, before moving here. Yes, it was before I moved here. It's in the jungle. It's very connected to the earth. It was really awesome. I'm not really a festival person, but that was like a 5-day festival. So I was really tapped in. I was really tapped into the earth, and I'd been dancing a lot, and I really feel like when you put yourself in those situations where you just feel really connected, that's where more of it is going to come, right? More of it's going to flow to you. And I was there with which is now an ex-partner of mine. And we were already kind of, the feeling was already there that we were going to go separate ways. But we were on this trip together still, and I had been dancing and everything, and I was tired. So I went back to the tent. We were sleeping in tents, and I went to sleep for a couple of hours. And something happened. There was a music, because the music was still going, and it was some really particular thing that woke me up. You know how you just get woken up by something, and it just like it
Yeah.
really gently just woke me up. And it was like this music that was just drawing me. And I was like, my logical mind had no idea what was going on, but it was this moment of knowing. And it was like, I know I have to follow this music right now. I just knew it was going to show me something. So I actually, get ready, put my clothes on, and it was like a couple-minute walk to a totally different side of the area. And I see right in front of me, I see my who was at that moment still my partner making out with another woman in public
Oh,
at the festival in the open. Yeah. And you know
your
what?
spirit guides were like, come
I
on,
don't
you've got to
know.
go over here and see what's going on so you can get out of this situation.
It was, I don't know, like, your self-conscious and like, I wonder why this had to be shown to me or whatever. But it was this knowing exactly what you were describing, where it's like this silent,
Mm,
frozen moment. But I was completely calm. I wasn't getting upset. I wasn't getting sad. It was just if I had the most profound moment of clarity.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I just walked away from that. I didn't even disturb them. I just walked away from that. I went to another area where that music was still playing. I followed the music further, like on the path. And I went there and I was dancing, and this other woman joined me, who I had no idea who she was. And for hours we just danced together, and we were just dancing to the music, and I was in a completely, utterly calm, content space, just dancing and everything. And that was such a profound thing, because after that, how that carried forward, I still did not get the anger. I did not get any of that. I was able to stay completely calm, to talk to him about him in like a assertive way, but what we were talking about early, more that calm, feminine assertiveness. The woman who speaks from her wisdom, who does not take any crap, but who also
yeah,
doesn't, yeah, who also doesn't need to go into like, explosion and that masculine
yeah,
explosion of anger kind of energy. It was just really like, okay, I know what
yeah,
happened. It's for you to know that I think for me, this was the point of where I really got the clarity that it's time to part ways. It was like, and I'm just like, wow, this is just amazing. If we just allow
Yeah.
ourselves to, because I could have easily ignored it. I could have easily ignored the whole thing, and be like, ah, I don't know why it woke me up, but I don't feel like getting up. I'll just continue sleeping. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
there's so much power in listening to that wisdom and letting it guide us to whatever we need to know or see or do. And we might not always even know the why right away, but it's so potent, it's so powerful, and it puts us into such a beautiful, energetic space of authenticity.
Yeah. I love that. I
So
really
that's my
do.
story.
I mean, obviously it's not it wasn't amazing, but it's just amazing how you're woken gently. Maybe it was an ancestor or family or someone that's looking out for you. And then know that you're at this stage in your life with that relationship that you could have continued to go on further, and then wasted more of your time, but it was like, oh no, you need to come here and see what's going on, and then now you need to go to this field and dance for hours, because sometimes when you're in these type of festivals it really can be such a wonderful experience, just dancing and dancing for hours and hours, and just really just being in that moment of joy. And it's almost like some sort of download a little bit sometimes. um so yeah, it was obviously a really great reason for you to be in that place, um at that time, and find that information out so that you could move on to the next phase in your life. So I love it. It's like someone was looking out for you. um Yeah, and there's some things, some decisions in my life that I've made, with sadness sometimes, but I've known straight away that that is the decision I have to make at that time. Um,
Hmm.
you know, because
Yeah,
otherwise it would lead to other things. So yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting how things come through to us. And it's not just the knowing thing that happens. Sometimes you will get feeling like a a heavy feeling, like something's gone on that you don't know, yet. And then, you get home and find out your mum's been really sad all day because her uncle died or something. Little things like that. So it's just amazing how we're all connected, um, more than we think that we are. Yeah. And
definitely. We're definitely all connected to that higher wisdom. And that's why I feel like, now more than ever, I feel like this year is the time to tap into that and to really let that guide you into the life that you really want to create. Because if you go along with everything that's happening out in this crazy world right now, it is not too hard to get lost. It is not too hard to, get distracted with your focus from
um,
who you truly are at your core and what you are here to do, despite anything that's happening in the outside world. Right. And I feel like that is the direction we should be going. And as women, we've gone through this whole kind of emancipation wave, let's say, in which
um,
for me, when I look at that, what kind of lens for me is that we've been taking it in a way to the extreme, where we've been kind of like, to me, taking on too much of the masculinity in our fight for our emancipation, right? For our feminine rights. And so it's beautiful that that happened. But now I feel like, okay, let's come back to our own wholeness again. Let's come back to who we are in our heart, not
yeah,
feeling we need to fight for that anymore, but just to embody that, just to live that. And yes, we might get some, resistance coming towards that from who knows who, could be men, but could also be women. It doesn't really matter who will come against that, but to just claim it, to choose it, because that's where we're going to create the new earth. I truly believe that. That's where the whole new earth consciousness will come alive, because we need to step into our truth, into our authenticity, bring that wholeness, but not feel like we have to fight for it. Just own it, just be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like, and it doesn't even have to be like really, oh, now I'm just totally like really spiritual and I'm really into all of these things, blah, blah, blah. It's about balance. So it's about, connecting the things that you have in your life still with the things that you want to embrace more of, rather than just saying, okay, now I'm like this one type of person. And I think we talked about it earlier about how we have so many different parts, and it's almost like there's a lot of people who go through spiritual awakening and then they don't, um, they move away from their families and things. And I feel like, yeah, if you're in a if your family's quite can be quite toxic and damaging, then yes, definitely think about cutting those ties. But when it's just because they have a difference of opinion to you on certain things, or they don't believe what you believe, I feel like the important thing to do is actually to say, okay, well, that's what you believe, and that's fine. This is what I believe, and I'm gonna actually start to own my truth now. But I'm going to respect that you're allowed to believe whatever it is that you want. We're all still humans. We're all still divine, wonderful beings, aren't we? Regardless of what we do or don't believe in things. And so I feel like one of the biggest things about us moving forward is to still try to have that connection with other people, even if they don't believe the same things or have the same point of view or way of thinking that we do. Because just because they think differently doesn't make them like, not a great person. It just makes them somebody that thinks differently. And I feel like sometimes
Exactly. Like, it's
we want to have a fight, don't we? We want to be, I'm right and you're wrong because I know everything. And actually, maybe we don't need to do that. We just need to accept people for whoever they are, and still love them, find that love, that unconditional love if we can, because otherwise we are discounting like, half, maybe more of the world because they don't believe the same things as us. And it's the same with religion, when people fight each other because of religious beliefs. That's a shame because they're still human. They're still babies, they're still
mhm.
mothers, wives, fathers, uncles, whatever. And it shouldn't be
Yeah.
about what someone believes. It should be about whether or not you can, tolerate them for being human. Some people are not very nice people. That is true. You just can avoid those. But just to
Mhm.
judge somebody because they have a different opinion to you, it's not fair. Well, and
Yeah,
also,
no, we have the power of choice.
we always change our opinions. We don't always have the same opinion all of our life. We learn things, we grow, we evolve. So again, what you know, I was on this one group, this awakening dating group thing ages ago, and there was a lot of people talking about anti-vaxxing and stuff. And if you had a vaccination from the COVID time, then that makes you terrible. And I blah blah blah. They were really against people who had vaccinations, and I said to myself, well, and a couple of people shared it as well. I said, that may be, but there's a lot of people that have because there's a lot of stuff come out about the vaccines and all kinds of problems now for COVID. That may be that, yes, that might not have been a good idea at the time. People only work on the information they have available to them, don't they? And at the time, we had a lot of information saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, blah, blah, blah. There was a big fear thing, wasn't there? So what I'm trying to say is, but now when I look at it, I think, oh no, I definitely wouldn't have that vaccine again for COVID. But at the time, I did have it because I wanted to get back into work. I was told I was critically vulnerable, ill health, blah, blah, blah. I was at high risk. So you just kind of work with what you believe at the time until you change for whatever reason. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say here? I might cut this whole bit out. But yeah, I'm just trying to say is that sometimes things change, don't they? Yeah. Mustn't make you a
Of
bad
course, and
person.
that's why no, that's why I feel like we don't have to fight each other. I think we spend a lot of us spend way too much time looking at what other people are doing instead of
Mm.
focusing on what our own truth is and living that, regardless of
Yeah,
what other people are doing. Like we don't have to look at the world like that, I mean, we're all creators. We all have a right here to be here on this planet and to create whatever it is we want to create. And some people might not create from their true authenticity, and others might grow into that and awaken to that and start doing that. And so it will
yeah,
look different, but none of it is wrong, and none of it is because as soon as you go into that, as we're giving our power away again. We're this powerful
yeah,
woman who can step into their own authenticity and truth and create from there. But as soon as we look at others and condemn that and say, like, oh, but that's wrong, and really like emotionally tap into that, we're giving our power away. We're shifting our focus and bringing in more of that. But what do we want to do? We want to stay in that alignment, keep focusing on that, and whatever anybody else is creating, that's their choice. And that's the beauty.
yeah,
We have the power of choice as well. So whenever it feels like it's hard to stay in our truth or make decisions based on our truth, we can remind ourselves we have the power to choose. I make
yeah,
all my own decisions in my life. And so there's no excuse to keep yourself in a situation that's bothering you too much, because of course that will happen. And that's normal,
mm,
but it's not like you have to keep yourself in that situation, right? And so, yeah, I truly feel like even if your life doesn't look exactly like a reflection of your heart yet, the power is in staying aligned with that
mm,
truth, even if you don't have it yet. And just keep aligning yourself with that so that you can actually draw in the circumstances and the opportunities that will allow you to expand from there. But if we stay focused on what others are doing,
mm.
especially what's not aligned with what doesn't feel aligned with us, we're never going to be able to stay authentic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
We're just
And
power.
and and I think there's also part of the process, it's definitely part of the magnetizing or the attraction process is also, yeah, staying in alignment with what it is that you want, starting making steps and taking action towards that, whatever they be, and recognizing that you might not be where you want to be, but actually there are good things around where I am right now as well, and I can still find joy in the moment, and gratitude for it. But yeah, definitely keep refocusing on what it is you want. Because because otherwise you're just going to be like, oh, I'm so miserable. I really need to get out of here, or I need to change my life, or I need to do this, I need to do that, and then you just bring in more of the stuff you don't want, don't you? Because that's what you're thinking about all the time, and you're also not taking any action, however small, to move towards what it is that you want, because you're just like, oh, woe is me. It's not
Just
perfect yet. I can't possibly get on with my
of
life and
in,
enjoy it.
in what's not going away.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you
Yeah.
say?
And this
You
brought to mind
internet
to me
went
some.
doodah.
Oh, okay. I was saying this, like, this brought to mind for me something that really helped me shift my mindset. And that is viewing the world through a lens that everything that happens
Hmm?
is is working for me. It's not
Yeah,
working against me,
I love
even though
that saying.
it might look like resistance, or it might look like it's working against me. Everything is working for me, because if you look at nature and if you look at the basic principles of creation, it's all rooted in well-being. The
Mm.
natural laws of creation want to promote well-being. So
Mhm.
anything that happens that seems opposite to that is still working for us, is still working in our benefit. It's just trying to show us something, and it's up to us to listen. But if you start viewing everything that happens in your life and everything that you come across as it's all working for me, then you start to look at it so dramatically differently
Yeah,
that it becomes easier to align with that authenticity and that wholeness of who you are, because then
yeah,
you're not going
yeah.
to look at that
I
thing
like
that
that.
happens that is really bothering the same anymore. You're going to look at, oh, this is just feedback. It's telling me something. Maybe I should choose something different right now. Or maybe I have been looking in the wrong direction and it's just trying to wake me up. It's just trying to wake me up to my own truth.
Yeah, I agree. It's like what we were talking about before when I've been looking for some, you know, I'm looking for a new job at the moment, but I do coaching as well. But the universe is not allowing, for whatever reason, for a job to come in yet. And yeah, it's almost like that's happening for me to give me more time to do coaching instead. So there you are.
It's feedback, right?
Perfect
And
example of it.
sometimes it
And sorry, what were
sometimes
you going to
it takes
say?
us a while to get the message. Sometimes it takes us a while to get a message. And that's why the resistance showing up in our outer world can become bigger and bigger, to the point where you just feel like you can't take it anymore. And you're just like, why is this happening to me? And like, I want
Yeah,
to do this. I want to get a job or do this. It's just not happening. It's because sometimes it takes a while for that feedback to actually land. And then for the courage to arrive to make a different choice, right? And to choose
yeah,
something different, something again that's more in alignment with our authenticity, with our truth, with our wholeness.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right, and I think and it it does make me laugh because obviously I can feel that we're going through a whole energetic shift, a whole change of pace, a whole change of way of being for society. Because things that were so much easier for me to do when I was a young person, were just seem to be like I'm walking through treacle or something now. It's like, oh, why is this so difficult just to get that? It shouldn't be that hard. Um, but yeah, it's just and it's with a couple of other things as well. And I think it's all to do with, yeah, it's to do with, it must be, yeah. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. So sorry. Blah 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 blah. So, but yeah, I mean, it just, yeah. I do question it. I am an overthinker, and I do try not to think so much. That is the best thing for me, because otherwise, I'm building a mountain out of a molehill, as they say. So I'm often trying to shift my focus to what are the positives in this moment? What is the lesson that I'm learning, rather than, oh, everything stopped working out for me. And it'd be so easy to sit in that victimhood, that place of, you know, everything's not working out, it's such a struggle. So yeah, I do shift out of it. And that's what I recommend anyone does, because otherwise you'll just be you'll just make it worse. But I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
why I think, that's why I think all the new, like, wisdom that is servicing, that's awakening, and part of that is what we're offering in the sisterhood is so, so important, especially this year, because there's gonna be this huge shift. You can feel it. I think any person can sense it, whether they believe in, energy or whatever, not, but you can see, like, there's either, like, people are feeling huge unrest, right, and like this restless energy, and maybe there are people that experience this as transformational energy. But no matter which side you're on, I think that every single person on this planet can really potently feel right now that there is something in the air, so to say, and it's huge.
Yeah, yeah, there really is.
And
Really
at the
is.
same
And you
time,
know what? Even
at
people
the
that
same
I know that aren't doing any meditation or going through some spiritual work, they have noticed that, different, how they're feeling more tired, not sleeping, going through different energetic times where more emotions and things are being brought up and they don't understand why. And I think, yeah, that's because the solar flare stuff that's happening, and how the moon is impacting people. And I can see it. I can see the way that the energy. Do you know what I mean? I can see it. I can see it happening to people who are not even on a spiritual path. So I find it really interesting to see how it impacts everybody, if you're choosing to or not.
that's
So
Yeah,
you might as
exactly.
well
I don't
choose
think
to.
there is a choice. It's happening. Everything's energy, and it's happening whether we want it or not. But
Yeah,
whatever side you're on, however you are experiencing it, I think at the same time we can see that there's so much wisdom surfacing on how to navigate these times. So it's really a
yeah,
matter of what you choose to focus on. Do you choose to focus on all the shit and get derailed by that and step out of your own authenticity or truth? Or do you choose to focus on, okay, there's all this wisdom available right now. I might personally not know how to do this, how to go about this, but there's so much wisdom surfacing right now. I can find a mentor or get there and get somebody and get that knowledge and absorb that instead of all the shit that's going on in the world,
yeah,
and choose to get on my path and to start creating from my heart. I mean, people say, well, what if the world like falls apart and whatnot, like I only know how to live like this and do it this particular way. What do you have to lose? To those people, I would say, what do you feel like you have to lose? If you're on
yeah,
the side of you feel like everything's going to fall apart, why not go for what your heart wants to create? Would be the
yeah,
perfect time, if you ask me, would be the perfect time to step into your alignment, into your authenticity, into your truth, and just go for what it is that you want to create. Because
yeah,
I always say, like, why, if you think that, why not die trying? If what would be the actual downside to it? Because that's, I think, also for women who try to step up into their wholeness, is like they're still afraid. They think they have something to lose. But really, what do you
yeah,
have to lose? And what would you have to lose?
yeah. I agree because yeah, if you're going for a change, and so for example, you lose your job or something else happens, or you end up breaking up with a partner or whatever. Now is the perfect opportunity for you to choose to do something that you love, that you've always put off because you had other responsibilities or you were settling for whatever it is that you had. So yeah, it's a great when you go through that tower moment, that where everything seems like it's falling apart. It's actually the perfect time for rebirth and change, and actually trying something new. That when you sort of think on it, you think, well, actually, I've always really wanted to do blah, 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 whatever it is, like insert random dream job here. You might as well go for something that you love rather than something that you is going to just bring you more of the same feelings that you had when you were in that other job or in that type of
Yeah.
relationship or blah blah blah. Because yeah, you might as well use that as a time to rethink what your options are, because we're always changing and evolving. We don't stay the same. So you may as well use that moment of change that you might not have asked for to be a moment of change for you. And yeah, and like you said,
Yeah,
think about it,
great.
what's in your heart. And also, I think one of the things that we do a lot as humans is we don't give ourselves permission to choose what it is that we love. And we almost sit in fear from even dreaming. I wonder if my fingernails are dirty because I've been in the garden. So apologies if you're watching this. It is that fear. Um, Sometimes you have fear of even allowing the thoughts of what you love to come up. So it takes a little while, I think, to stabilize your, mm, you know, nervous system to allow you to feel it safe to be able to think what it is that I love. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is that sometimes if you're in a place where you're very, you've been just acting in a problem solving manner all of your life, and you're in a sort of high anxiety level, it takes a while to, when you start this work, it can take a while to truly lock into what you love. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. But there's no like, if you choose to go down that road, you will get there. People will find out what they love, but they have to choose it first. They have to choose first, like, okay, I'm gonna create something that I actually love, even if I don't know
Yeah,
yet what that is. I was actually talking
that's
last night
true.
to somebody. I was at a community dinner last night, and I was talking to somebody who's going to become my new neighbor. So I was really curious about, what she does, what she loves in her life. And she couldn't answer me. She couldn't answer me what
Oh,
she loves doing. And I could
yeah,
see the expression on her face of like, oh, and I don't even think people often receive that question. How common is it to receive the question, what is your job? What kind of work do you do? What do you do for a living? Instead of getting
yeah,
asked the question, what do you love in life?
yeah,
Like, tell me what do you love doing? Like, what are you passionate about? And she drew a total blank, and I was just like, wow, yeah. It was kind of like a wake up call for me, because I'm so used to going for what I love in my life,
yeah.
and focusing on that I don't always even realize anymore that there are so many people still out there who don't even know.
It's funny you should say
But
that because
just,
actually, oh, sorry, you
yeah,
finish. I'll
go
tell you
ahead.
my story then.
Yeah, so I was just like, oh, if this is you, if there's a woman tapping into this who's like, well, I really don't know. But I mean, you don't have to start this journey. You don't have to know to already start creating a life that you love. Because
Yeah,
that's the powerful wisdom that we offer, for example, in our Superconscious Sisterhood container, is you'll find out along the way. The thing is,
yeah,
our end results, goals are not needed to live a life we love. They actually facilitate stepping into our wholeness, because it gives us a sense of what it feels like to be in our wholeness, right? And
yeah.
so you
You're
don't
right.
even have to know yet what you truly love
Have to know.
to already start embodying that.
Yeah, you don't need to know. You just and also I would say there's another part of it as well, is that you might think, okay, I've always loved such and such a thing. And then you try it out and actually maybe you don't like it as much. So then tap into your intuition, see what else is out there. Because sometimes when you're first choosing those things, you might not be working with your higher self or your superconscious. You're just working with the vagaries of what you know in your ego to start with. So, you just try a few things out and get a bit more joy in your life, and then you will naturally work it out, won't you? One of the it's
Exactly.
funny, yeah, that's all you could do. Just give it a go. One of the funny thing you should say about that woman not knowing what she would love. Um, I actually asked one of my English students the other day, because I do teach in English as a foreign language as well, same as you, I think, online.
Mhm.
And I asked them, well, what do you do for fun? What do you love? And they were like, huh? It just and I said, you really like we really got into talking about, what do you do for your downtime that isn't just this? What do you do for yourself that's just for you? And this guy, he didn't have anything that he did to de-stress from work or do outside of his family responsibilities. And he didn't really know what he liked. And when I said, well, he was talking about his daughter drawing these paintings, I said, oh, do you paint? And he was like, oh no, I don't do that. And it took a while for him to actually come up with something. Eventually he did, but but still, it's just that is you're right. People don't really ask. They don't really think about that. And when they do think about what they love, it's usually just spending a long time on their phone scrolling or doing something else, rather than something that is connecting them with grounding them at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Because we can all love sitting and watching a film and stuff, but actually, what can you do that's outside of that process that is just can be very mind numbing, and like you're just having it fed into you? What can you do to like get your hands dirty or really create in the most truest sense of it? Anyway, sorry, I could talk about that for ages. Um, Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
but
really
I think
interesting, Debbie. Yeah,
yeah, you hit an interesting point there because for some people there might still be confusion between, okay, what is releasing those feel good hormones for me? That must be what I love, but it's just
yeah,
conditioning. Yeah, it's
hmm,
just conditioned behavior. And so finding out what really, ignites our heart is what will unleash. I was laughing about it earlier, but it's actually quite sad that there are still many people who don't even know what they love, right? What they truly love. Because I truly believe that's what we're here for. We're here to create
yeah,
the things that we love.
yeah,
And so and stepping into that authenticity and creating from there and putting out those gifts is gonna allow other people to step into that too. And that,
yeah,
yeah, like, as as women in this case, if we're as women, building each other up, encouraging each other to step into that truth, whether you are aligning with that other person's truth or not, but it will create that huge ripple effect. Because the authenticity is, in the end, what is contagious. It's what people are craving. I truly believe that. People are done with the bullshit. Deep down, people are totally done with the bullshit. But they're
yeah,
still
agree
taking
with that.
it because they don't know what they love, or they don't know how to step into their own authenticity. And the more of us who will carry that forth and who will actually do that and who will normalize that, is just giving others the permission slip to do so as well, because we will create a safe space. So this is not only something that you do for yourself, this is actually, I think, the biggest thing you could ever do for not only yourself
Yeah,
but for the whole world, is to actually
yeah,
live from your truth.
hmm. Yeah. I really, yeah, I do. The more I think about it, the more I agree with it. And there was for a long time where I was very much living in fear of being myself. And yeah, I think that the time has come for me and many others to stop living in fear, to stop being scared of what may or may not happen. If you're approaching everything that you do from a place of love and with only genuine want for betterment for and support for others, then what's the worst that could happen? I mean, we're not in the 1500s right now, right? So it's fine. So, there's no
Yeah, and I had
Spanish
that goosebump
Inquisition.
moment again.
Oh,
I had
good.
a goosebump moment as I said that, because what comes up for me is I feel like, we need to start massively choosing love over fear.
Yeah,
We need to just choose love over fear. I think with so many things we have uh, let ourselves be influenced to the point where we see a danger in almost everything, whether it's choosing what to eat, right? Because that has defense chemicals, you shouldn't eat that, or that's not, think about it.
yeah,
There is an opposite opinion about every single thing. And so we've been letting ourselves be influenced by all those stories, and we've been seeing danger in everything. And I think, even in the sun, I posted this the other day, where
yeah,
crazy video about people being scared of the sun. We need the sun. And it's like, I'm just like, why not choose love over fear? If you have a love for the sun, it's not a coincidence. It's there for a reason. So everything that you feel a love for, that you feel drawn to from the heart, is there for a reason. And so just choose love over fear and create
yeah,
from there.
yeah. I
Trust
agree.
that
I
and
mean,
just see what happens. Experience what
the sun,
happens.
the sun makes you feel so good, whoever you are. You're right. There is definitely a lot of conditioning to be feeling fear about everything. Like even the tap water that you drink and stuff. Um, you know, we're not always all in a position where we can have completely filtered water or bottled water. We sometimes have to have what's in a tap, and then what can you do? Well, you have to just do that because you can't not
But we're
hydrate
powerful.
at all. So
Yeah,
so
we're
I feel
so
like, yeah,
powerful.
there's a lot of fear, isn't there? There's a lot of fear around, oh no, can't do
Exactly.
that. It's gonna, do
But
this, or
look at
that is
water.
beliefs.
I love that you bring that up, because look at water. If you have to drink tap water, if you feel like you have no other choice than to drink tap water, but you're
You
going to
have
be
to,
scared of it. We have the power to transfer and emit energy. And I mean, it's all over the internet. You can find it everywhere, where you can look up the studies that are done with water and how it takes on our energy. So if you have to drink tap water, the least that you can do is do that with love.
oh
Choose
yeah.
love over fear.
I saw that thing where the Japanese scientist was sending vibrations of love to the water, and then he was freezing it to see what patterns it made, and then he had people consciously sending hate to the water, and then he froze it, and then you had the different images, and it was just really interesting to see how much the water took on the vibration of whatever emotion it was that was being put to it. It was really fabulous. And
Yeah,
yeah, I loved it. I was like, if that's what can happen to water, and we're 70% water, then what can happen to
exactly.
us if somebody's sending us love or hate? Um,
Exactly.
so
And this is
yeah,
what we do with everything. What
yeah,
how do we focus on our food that we eat? Do we think, oh, this might be bad if I eat this right now? Well, if you're sending in that kind of vibration, you know what I mean? Like, yes, we have the consciousness where we can discern, okay, this thing might be better for me than that thing. But if you're already deciding to take in tap water or something to eat when there's nothing else on hand, for example, you better infuse it with love. You better choose love over fear. Because that is way
Yeah.
more, that's always the more powerful thing. Why do you think some people can live up to 100 with all kinds of bad habits?
Yeah, and they'd be
You
like
know, because
smoking 10
maybe
cigars a
their
day and stuff.
mental
Yeah,
maybe their
yeah,
mental
exactly.
attitude has been a bit different, right? And they haven't had the same perspective as you, which is energetically can be so powerful. And so this, I
Mm.
feel like, beautifully aligns with that authenticity. Who do you believe that you are? Right?
Yeah,
How powerful do you believe that you are? To what extent do you believe that your energy, your vibration can affect things? Because if you believe in that, if you feel deep down in your heart that you're, for example, like a really peaceful, loving person, how do you think that can affect your surroundings? And how much do you believe in that? That actually
yeah,
is already in and of itself enough, that that's who you are, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's powerful.
And let's be honest. In the words of Dr. Barbara Cohen, you are a human being, not a human doing. So you must just be loving yourself no matter what, so yeah, that's I like that. I like that when she says that because I just think, oh yeah, that's a really good point. And actually, I was going to mention it earlier, and we'll wrap up in a second. One of the things that I have been doing this last couple of weeks is really focusing on forgiveness of myself and letting go of shame or those types of feelings that I carried about with me for such a long time, on all kinds of different things, because uh, I feel like, yeah, I just felt like that was energetically part of the shift that needed to happen for me, was just letting go of that trauma, that shame, um, where you couldn't help people, or you could, where you wanted to do more, regrets, um, and also things that I don't know from past lives, just letting go, just loving myself no matter what, rather than taking that baggage and carrying it with me still. I just thought you're just really drawn to it, and that's part of the authenticity is don't carry that shame around with you. Celebrate who you truly are, and not, not fear it. Don't fear it. Don't necessarily judge it. It's just, it is what it is. Not that I did
Exactly.
anything really shameful, let's be honest, but it's just the way our sabotaging beliefs think, isn't it? That we make more out of something than it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again just choosing love over fear, right? I mean, we also don't have to be ashamed of feeling ashamed. We can love that part of ourselves as well. No matter how far
Oh
we
yeah,
along
that
we
is a
are
good point.
yeah, no
Mm.
matter how far along we are on our journey of being choosing to be a conscious creator and choosing to do that from our authenticity, we're still gonna encounter those moments where we're gonna
Mm.
feel shame or discouragement, and then it's, I think, a really good point to also not feel discouraged by the discouragement or ashamed of our shame, but to again choose love over fear and just be like, okay, I can love that part of me too, and I feel now the
Yeah,
wisdom to let that go.
yeah, I do like that from and I do remember it from our other things that we got from our other trainings. That acknowledging and loving all parts of me, even the part that feels shameful, feels sad, feels despair. Those are all parts of us, and there's always a time and place for them, or a lesson, like you said, talk about earlier. There's always something that is to come from whatever it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's good. Really like that. Um, oh, well, I think we should wrap up now because I have to go make the dinner.
And
Yes.
I've really enjoyed talking with you today. It has been very lovely.
Yes, it's been very nice. Thank you so much for this space. I love having these conversations. We always say we should do it more often, and then life happens, and that's still part of it. We're also both human.
Yeah, that's true.
and, and stuff
Yeah, I
happens.
think we
But yeah,
should.
it's a joy to jump on.
We should definitely do more of these. And I think we will get a chance when you've moved because you will feel more settled and more in a relaxed place. So it'll be
Yeah,
very
lots
good.
of exciting things happening. Keeps me busy, but it's also good. I feel it's good to have always those things going that really put you into your alignment, and you're like, okay, it's worth going through all of this for a moment. Yeah,
Yes, sometimes you've got to chop down a bit of the jungle overgrowth to see the trees.
exactly. Yeah,
I don't know where that came from, but
nice
anyway.
metaphor
Yeah. Yeah.
though.
That's thank
Well,
you so
thank you
much.
so much.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed our content, then please subscribe or check out our socials. I've been your host, Kelly Robinson, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Take care, much love, goodbye.